Hello everyone and welcome back to the GeekWave. This is the low budget show. It's the show so low it has no budget, and we took a week off. Not a lot of news we needed to talk about, and I was just, we got time. The world's always going to keep going for content like this. Nothing ever ends. Vicious cycle of content. In that time, I watched Babylon probably 2 more times. Probably watch it again by the time this episode comes out. Should I do a Babylon episode? I know I just kind of talked about Babylon, but I feel like I need to talk more about Babylon. I just love Babylon. I'm a Babylon boy. This episode is not about Babylon. It's actually kind of like in conjunction of 2 other movies that have just came out. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and Cocaine Bear. 2 movies about iconic bears through popular culture. So I thought, let's talk about the other bears that are prominent throughout pop culture, because that's kind of fun. And we'll just see what's going on there. And making that list is kind of hard, actually. Kind of fun one, but we'll get into it. Before that, we do have a lot of interesting news to talk about. Everything on this list excites me in some capacity just because there is something to discuss within them. That also being said, none of this is stuff I actively need to see or want to see be made. It's just fascinating that this is the point of time we're in, So our first piece of news that we do have to talk about, because it's really fascinating, is DreamWorks is attempting to do a live-action remake, reboot, retelling, a live-action movie involving one of their lead franchises, How to Train Your Dragon. The film is scheduled for a 2025 release, which means they're going to be filming it in the next couple of years, I would say. Probably maybe the end of this year to early 2024. Very weird. I genuinely think this is weird. Because it's like, why? I know animation's in like a weird place right now where every single project is getting canceled. Nothing gets the opportunity to like have legs anymore. But taking something that's an established franchise that has made billions of dollars between the 3 movies and the spin-offs and everything seems like a weird idea to try to make that live action. Is this like we need a child-sized House of the Dragon thing? Is that what this is? Because I could see that working. I also find it weird because we don't really, outside of like Disney, we don't really do this like big budgeted children's movie anymore. Even when you like see like, oh, they got like a Little Mermaid and a Snow White movie coming out this year, it doesn't feel like it's aimed for like a super young demographic. It feels like it's honing on the nostalgia. But those How to Train Your Dragons movies are also pretty recent. So I guess nostalgia will still be playing a factor in here. It's just interesting that we're trying this again so soon. And it leads me to think how far away we are from DreamWorks trying to live action other movies. I've said it before in countless places to everybody in my like real world. I have said 5 years time, before 2030, which is 7 years, we're going to see a live action Shrek either announced or adapted. Yes, we've seen the musical, but I mean like a full-fledged movie where they're going to cast like a big, funny personality as Shrek, and we're going to see that happen. I do believe that. I think before then, we're going to be seeing Shrek 5 or a Shrek reboot in DreamWorks Animation, but if this How to Train Your Dragon movie is successful, do not be surprised if in like 10 years from now, we get like a new movie franchise out of a live-action Shrek. So Dragons makes more sense. Toothless is a marketable character. I am curious to see how this is going to go. It's, out of everything on this list, the thing I'd want to see the least, but that's saying something because I don't really want to see any of the stuff I'm talking about today, which leads us to our next topic because we're getting another attempt of Hellboy, everyone. That's right. Brian Taylor, a director who, okay, sure, has worked on stuff, will be working on a book, or be working on a series. I'm going to say it's a series because they're going to try to make more of these because that's what we do now. Mike Mignola is going to be like penning the script. We're getting a new Hellboy. It's Hellboy the Crooked Man based on the Crooked Man comic book arc. It's going to be set in like a small town, like post-World War II, 50s vibe where there's like witches taking everything over. Okay, so many thoughts about this because I got to talk about Hellboy for a minute. I get why we go back to this well. I mean, you could argue Hellboy is more popular than Spawn, but I don't really believe that. It's just so weird that he's gotten 3 attempts since like 2005. And like the first one from Del Toro, really good. Really well done. People liked it and responded to it. Then you had David Harbour's attempt before the pandemic, like right before the pandemic, that didn't really garner that much interest from a general audience. And yes, of course, it was the pandemic. It's also like, we have so many comic book content. Why is Hellboy the one that's getting the second chance here? Wasn't that interesting? Doing another Hellboy seems so stupid. Who cares? Who cares? This sounds so lame. You know, like, why are we doing Hellboy again? I could think of about 100 other characters I'd like to see get one attempt before we did Hellboy again. You know, it's so weird to me. Is it just like we need to make another one because Mignola has like his fingers like in the pot of Hollywood and he's like controlling it to make it? Who do you even get to play Hellboy this time around? Look, if he's a younger, like a teenaged Hellboy, I'll do it. Like, look, if you pay me, I'll do it for cheap. I'll do it for scale. You kidding me? I'll show up on set, spend the 5 hours to put on the prosthetics for a movie that's not going to make any money and bomb at the box office. I'll do it. If you are struggling to find an actor to do this, I'll do it. Now, I guess it could be good if we go to like a smaller scale, but they're not, right? Like we really aren't going to do that. Because what else are we doing here? You know, it's bizarre that we're trying Hellboy again, but The Crooked Man will be coming out who knows when. I don't know. It's so bizarre to me that we keep trying Hellboy. It's like the general audience clearly doesn't give a shit. What are we doing here? I don't know anymore. So bizarre to me. But that's not the worst news we're talking about this week. This one, it actually upsets me on a whole lot of levels, so we'll talk about it. Baran Bo Odar and Jean-G Freys, who are these German creators that have had a huge deal with Netflix recently. They made Dark, which is a really fun show, really enjoyable, and 1899, which is a project I didn't love, but there was so much ambition and interest behind it, it did pique my interest enough to continue watching the show. I think both of those properties have so much interesting ideas presented in them. I genuinely like that they exist, and I'm so glad Netflix was like, we have these creators that don't normally get an outlet to make stuff. Let's see what they want to create. Is there maybe some hypocrisy around 1899 being lifted from like a short story? Possibly, but there's still something about that works. So those two creators, very talented, very understanding of just like how to run a show and make something incredible. They are the creators tapped to adapt and produce and direct the pilot, supposedly, for Netflix's Something is Killing the Children. Now, I have talked a lot about Tynan recently. I have talked a lot about his creator-owned works. The one book I haven't really touched upon was Something is Killing the Children. I think it's just an okay book. I don't love it. It's probably my least favorite of his works, and I don't really like any of his works in particular, aside from Department of Truth. It's interesting, to say the least. That rubs me the wrong way. It's kind of like what we've seen Marvel doing for so long. You create like this independent work, and you're like, cool, this is really award-winning and fun. And then a big studio scoops you up and says, now can you adapt the IP we own? That's what this feels like to me, and it kind of sucks where 1899 was canceled very prematurely before it really had a chance to grow because Netflix fucking sucks. So now they're going to take an existing IP that is popular in a certain demographic, try to adapt that. Is it going to work? Probably not. This is not Stranger Things. This is not Stranger Things. But they want to make it Stranger Things, don't they? Because Stranger Things is ending. I just figured it out. Just talking it out loud, I figured it out. Stranger Things is going to end like whenever the hell it ends, this year or next year, I don't really care. And then they'll release Something is Killing the Children to fill that kind of like kids doing horror shit vibe, but they're gonna up the nostalgia in Something is Killing the Children probably. No thanks, man. I don't want to see this. This doesn't sound like it's gonna work. I like those two names attached to this because they understand nuance, they understand cinematography, how to tell a story, but I don't need to see this working. I just can't see this captivating any audiences on a large scale. Because it's not funny. It's not trying to be funny or like live off nostalgia or like a mystery. It's just like supernatural, just meets a comic book. I don't know. It's interesting. Good for you, Tynan. You have somehow managed to make more and more money off of your mediocrity. But I still love you, and I still think we have a lot of similar interests in terms of writing. So congrats on that, dude. That's awesome. Next piece of news has more movies that are being made than you have to ask the question why. New Line has made a deal with Warner Brothers, and they're going to be working on more Lord of the Rings films. At the same time, there was like the rumor that maybe Warner Brothers wants to make some Hogwarts Legacy stuff with more Harry Potter stuff. You know, those two brands that are just popular today. Who cares? Again, you have to ask the question, why do we want to make a universe out of Lord of the Rings? It's a pretty cut and dry story. You just know exactly where it ends. Not much more you could do. Do they want to reboot it? It's been 20 years. I say do it. If you want to try, reboot it. I think that's a great idea. I don't have any personal attachments to stuff like that. I say reboot it if you're gonna. That's fine by me. Hogwarts Legacy? Sure. Don't see why it has to happen. These are two properties that I was never able to connect with, like Lord of the Rings or Tolkien work and J.K. Rowling's work. They're two like worlds I just have no connection to, like other stuff associated with them. But they're desperate for their IP. They know what's selling. Hogwarts Legacy is doing gangbusters in sales, so it makes sense that they're doing all this stuff. And if you own Lord of the Rings and the Amazon show is taking the thunder away from you, but is it really? Because who has talked about the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon since it came out? Again, this is the thing I want people to remember about just like IP existing everywhere. We had a Lord of the Rings show come out like 4 months ago, and nobody is talking about it still. That's where we're at with content right now. It's insane. So new Lord of the Rings movies, cool. New Harry Potter adjacent stuff, cool. Let's talk about one final piece of news that is worth exploring, and that is Dead Boy Detectives, that show that started off as like a spin-off from Doom Patrol, had the leads recast. That was going to be an HBO Max original series, and then there was things shifting, blah, blah, blah. It's still coming out. It's going to be moved to Netflix. They're making Dead Boy Detectives on Netflix. I'm like, why? Why? Because of Gaiman? Because Gaiman has the connection with Sandman? But didn't like Zaslav say he was pissed off that the Sandman is at Netflix and he wanted it to come to HBO Max? Why is any of this happening? What is going on? What is happening with all of this just bullshit? I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening and how this keeps happening. It's so frustrating and annoying, but we're going to be getting a Dead Boy Detectives something being made for Netflix as opposed to the streaming service where the spinoff was supposed to come from. Okay, I don't get it. What's going on? So much weird shit. I don't know anymore. I just feel like we're done. Like we've reached the limit of what content can be. What are we still doing trying, you know? It's tiresome. Very tiresome. Okay. That's all the news. Does any of that news get you excited? Reboots and remakes and retellings and just stuff that is existing already being made in places you don't want to pay for anymore. That is where we're at right now in terms of content. But it's exciting, question mark. Let's take a break and actually get into something fun to talk about. So a little while ago, I did a video talking about like all of the most iconic lions in pop culture, and doing that list, I had like an absolute blast putting it together because it was like surprisingly harder because there's not as many lions as you think in pop culture. There really isn't. There was like that horny one and then the MGM one and like a couple others, but doing like bears, just like bears, there's more than you'd imagine, so I actually had to cut down a bit of them. So here's what I took off the list while I was doing research. Anything that is just strictly a teddy bear. I feel like that could be a topic for another day, so I took off teddy bears. There are teddy bear adjacent characters on my list, just ones that are like, they've been a teddy bear, they are a teddy bear, but I don't want them to be like strictly, they're not just strictly teddy bear-ish. So if they are known for being more than a teddy bear, they're on the list of iconic bears. And when you look at like the actual list, there's some variety in the bear, but it's primarily like grizzlies or black bears, which I guess makes sense because It's an iconic bear. When you think of bear, you kind of think of like a grizzly, I guess. It's cool. It's kind of fun. And again, this is all of pop culture, animated or real life, or even a mascot or a video game or throughout history. Just bears that have impacts throughout life, who have resonated. When I say who's the most iconic bear of all time, chances are you're going to be thinking of somebody from this list, if not everybody on this list. But bears are cool. It's awesome. I guess we'll get into it. Again, there's no particular order to this list. It is just bears we are talking about. Let's get into it. First off, let's start with, I would argue, the most iconic bear, Winnie the Pooh. He is a Pooh bear. One of the ones we're starting off with is kind of associated with being like a stuffed animal, but we're going to be talking about Winnie the Pooh because he's just the coolest guy in the world. Just a silly old bear, he's just goofy and just fun. What an adorable little man. You got an entire identity just built around this yellow bear who just wears a shirt and eats honey. He's a silly old bear and he's so cute and fun. Pooh's the best. Name one time Pooh has ever sucked. You can't. Pooh's just adorable and he's fun. He's lovely. Just a funny little bear. An icon in so many varieties. You have your classic storybook icon of the bear. You have him as like a cartoon star, as a movie star. He is popular. He has survived throughout time. And he has recently found his way to the public domain. So Pooh Bear is going to be getting a little more popular too. Is he my favorite on the list? No, I think I know which ones my favorites are. But we'll get into that as we go on. He's just, I could argue, the most iconic. Just a cute little bear. But is he the best of the 100-Acre Wood? I don't know. He's just interesting. You gotta respect a guy who just doesn't give a shit, who just lives in his own lane, always has something quippy to say, an iconic voice, an iconic catchphrase. He's just sweet. You just love him. A little goofball you just want to kiss every day. What a sweetheart. Let's stop there, and before we leave the 100-Acre Woods, we're going to look around, look at the beautiful skies, and just be like, ugh, what a beautiful life we live in. It's so sweet and so nice. And we're going to get on a bus, we're going to travel down to Jellystone, because we're going to be seeing the iconic bears of the Yogi and Boo Boo variety. Now, this is where I am a little bit more of like a fan of this world. I am a huge fan of Yogi Bear. He's one of my favorites. He's a guy I relate to a lot. Just this little troublemaker getting up to no good. He's just wearing a hat and a tie, scooping by. I do think he kind of gets lost to the current generation. I think there is characters of this generation who don't have impact with the youth of today. Like his era is kind of almost forgotten. But he's iconic. He's iconic. You have maybe people over 30 and 40 can tell you that's a Yogi and there's a Boo Boo. Get the picnic basket. That kind of thing. I've always just liked Yogi. He's really fun. Remember when they did that CG movie earlier in 2011? Was it 2011 or 2010? Do you remember that? The last time we attempted something with Yogi in a starring role. Yes, there's the Jellystone cartoon that HBO Max did that I absolutely adored. Yogi is just a troublemaker. He's a wise talker. He's very smart and fun. You also have Boo Boo, his little sidekick. Look, if we're being honest, folks, Yogi and Boo Boo are just Fred and Barney from the Flintstones. But it works. You also got Cindy. Is it Cindy? Yeah, Cindy Bear, the girl one, who's just the girl bear. And it's fun. Yogi, he's just clever and sweet and just kind of adorable. I love him. A little cute boy. Sweet little sweetheart. We love it. Again, something I've noticed when putting this list together is that my favorites of every franchise we're going to be talking about are not the bear. Again, Winnie the Pooh, my favorite is probably Eeyore. When it's the Hanna-Barbera, Yogi and Boo Boo world, it's probably Snagglepuss, but it's just great to talk about those characters and see them. Yogi, so far, my favorite bear. And then we go to, oh God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. We're gonna leave Jellystone. We're gonna get on our bus, maybe even our plane, because we're headed to somewhere across the pond, and we're going to jump into like the rainforest. Paddington? Yeah, we're doing Paddington. Paddington is next. I would say the Yogi Bear of this generation. He's had 2 successful movies that have been memed to death. People love Paddington too. It's kind of exciting. Paddington is, again, one that's kind of associated with a teddy bear, but is also very iconic in his own right. I do think his iconography stems a lot today from those 2 very successful movies from Paul King. I think this is where he has made his footprint, where he has become a cultural touchstone, not just across the pond, but across the world. Those are the movies that made Paddington Bear popular. I know the character has always had like a place in pop culture, but I really think having those 2 movies where it's like a CG live action mix, it made the character what he is. Yes, there was like storybooks and cartoon ideas from him, but the character becomes worldwide because of it. But again, I guess overseas, he's always been an icon, and maybe is like their Winnie the Pooh, you know? I guess that makes sense. I guess you could say like he is like the Winnie the Pooh of that, but Winnie the Pooh's also like, British. So maybe not. Maybe he's just like if Winnie the Pooh was like a respectable young man. Like if you put them in a room together, Pooh Bear is kind of like the stoner, and this is like the nice man who's coming in like, okay, I'm here to help my brother. He's just kind of slow. Not that Pooh Bear's slow. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. So Paddington, a very cool guy, very popular, very iconic. And that leads us to, I would say, America's biggest contribution to the bear mythos, right? It's got to be, because he taught us that only you can prevent forest fires. Smokey the Bear, right? I love Smokey. Like, again, I'm like a Canadian boy. I know a lot about like American iconography, and when you just have like this grizzly bear wearing jeans and like a top hat, but he's shirtless, he's kind of got like a dad bod, and he's just screaming at you like, don't start fires. I instantly just think about like America culture. I adore this bear so much. Again, he's my favorite at this point because I do think he's the most iconic for me growing up. I always just hear people say only you can prevent forest fires. It's a saying people are still saying to this day. It's so crazy. And he's just like an icon. This is what I mean by icon. He's not like, starring in movies or leading a cartoon. He is just a symbol that somebody made, just like corporate greed created like this iconic character of a half-naked bear man telling you don't light your forest on fire, and now the entire world knows not to do that. Isn't that cool? And he's old. I'm looking at pictures of him. He celebrated like his 75th anniversary recently. Dude is a legend. Like, he's just a big beefy boy wearing jeans. How American could that get? And he's just like, okay, don't start forest fires. It's bad. Dude's a legend. I love Smokey the Bear. Look, what are we doing here? Smokey Bear, he's so cool. I'm happy. I love him. What is he? Why does this exist? He's like the asshole that the other bears would make fun of if they saw him, He's so great. You just gotta love Smokey Bear. What a cute little dude. Let's jump from there. We got like a serious guy that's like, don't start fires. A hunk, probably the hottest bear on this list of Smokey. We're going to jump to the little goofball comic bear. Because of course we're talking about Fozzie Bear. That's right, Fozzie Bear coming up. Oh, the perfect combination of Winnie and Yogi and Paddington. He's just a perfect combination. I love the Muppets. You all know I love the Muppets. I've been teasing and hinting at a Muppet video for so long. Just to jump into that world is so exciting to me. I love the Muppets more than anything. Fozzie is always one of the ones that connected with me because he's a little goofball, a little jokester, a little comedian. It's funny. He's funny. He does make jokes about himself being a bear, too, and that's like a cool thing to see. But he's just like a socially awkward nerd. He's fun. It's cute. It's adorable. He's just a silly goofball boy. And I guess that's fun to see. He's also got an iconic catchphrase, something we're seeing a lot of these bears have, Waka Waka. He is a surprisingly charming young man. And I just enjoy it. Every time Fozzie's on screen, you just instantly buy that he understands who he is, even if he's not the best at what he does. He knows the jokes he's making are maybe a little bit corny, but that's what he's going for. You know, he knows how to be a supportive friend, be there when you need him, but he's also just kind of like in his own head a lot of the time. So his relationship with Kermit is one I would always tell like people, if you want to know how to like tell like a good friendship, this is how you'd analyze it, because the moment the two of them are together on screen, it's instant chemistry, it's instant understanding of who they're working with. Fozzie's a little bit of like a over-the-top, loudmouth friend. Kermit's a little more like laid back and stoic, but when they're together, they do some iconic stuff. That's just what I think, and that's what I love about it. Fozzie's the best. Fozzie's the coolest. You gotta respect him. He's a cool dude all around. I love it. Love it. And yes, we'll do the frog video soon. I want to do a frog video for this too. If you have any other animals you want to see me talk about from pop culture, please let me know, because I think these are some of my favorite to do, because I get to talk about a large variety of things. Moving away from the Muppets, let's go to another icon of the 80s, because we're getting our hearts out. I don't know what you'd call it. But let's talk about the Care Bears. Yes, the first time we are branching out into a huge variety of characters to talk about the Care Bears. They're just cool. It's that thing where you just take the same model, you change up the color, and you have iconic characters. They have recently been rebooted, which I do like. I do like that reboot. It's so cute and interesting. I do own a Care Bear plushie. I do. I actually own all the Funko Pops too. I don't really do Funkos anymore, but I like the Care Bears enough where I'm like, I gotta have me a Care Bear thing. You know, they're Care Bears. They're cool. Just a bunch of like happy. They're just like an 80s cartoon of bears. I don't know how else to put it to you if you've never seen them. They just have like varying personality. You know, this one's sunshine and happy. This one's Tenderheart. This one's Lucky. This one's like, what are the other ones? We have Cheer Bear, I do believe, is one of them. It's the rainbow one, right? Sunshine, that's another one. Lucky Bear. Grumpy, I have Grumpy stuff. Grumpy's the best. Dream Bright. They're just like, we're all happy. Look at us celebrate being alive and everything, and our weird power where we shoot beams from our chest. And then you have Grumpy, who's just like, wah, wah, and it's cute. It's great. Love a Lot Bear. Yes. We love the Care Bears in this house. They are so cute and fun and adorable and iconic. You can like, they just have like a symbol on their chest. So if you were to print off like a blank sheet of paper and color in your own Care Bear, you could make your own like Bear-sona for a Care Bear, because that's all you have to do. It's that easy. Just make your own Care Bear. Should we all do it? I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a Care Bear, and I'm going to post it on social medias, like for us talking about everything with the Care Bears. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do it. Saving the picture now. You'll find it on social media after this video releases. I'm going to make a Care Bear for Tsunami Studios. Very fun, very cool stuff. Care Bears are awesome. From there, let's head over to another jungle. We're headed into the deep waters because we're going to get the bare necessities going and talk about Baloo, who I would argue a lot of like the younger generation or my generation would say is one of the most iconic bears out there, because there's a fondness for the Jungle Book. I like the Jungle Book. I don't know if Baloo is my favorite, but Baloo does lead into a bunch of other stuff that we could get into, which is like the reboot era with like the new characters portraying him, and like Tailspin, which is very iconic in its own right. But Baloo just has that perfect energy for a bear, of a relaxed, chill energy, not doing much of anything, just taking it easy, taking it and relaxing in strides, nice and slow and calm and chill, and we love it so much. That is how we do it in this world. Baloo, baby. Again, not my favorite, but I respect what Baloo stands for. Just as being like this cool, calm dude who's going to teach you to sing, how to get on with life. He's just an iconic, chill man, and I love that. So we kind of have like two versions of characters so far. Insanely over-the-top loudmouths and just chill bros. And that's kind of fun. But from the Jungle Book, we're gonna go head down to one of the biggest conspiracies on the internet, actually, the Berenstain Bears, which I think only holds up in iconography because of like the Mandela effect theory that they have like a different name in a different universe. Because I don't know how much love there is for these characters, but they do kind of hold up. I do think it's because of that conspiracy theory thing that they have staying power. But if you were to put every single bear in a lineup and you just like took one character from the Berenstain Bears universe, put them in like a room, you could tell easily what they are and what they're from, because they have like their iconic like weird head look where like their hair is kind of like a real bear but it also looks like they have like a mohawk and weird styles. It's interesting. They're kind of cool. They're just a family. You seen The Simpsons? It's nothing like that. I just want you to watch The Simpsons. But they got that, like, there's the dad. He's kind of silly. The mom is the homemaker. The brother and sister are a little bit silly. They're iconic. And didn't they get they had like another kid recently, right? Or has there always been 3 of the kids? I don't remember. Like, it would make sense if they had a baby. Interesting. But they're also just like children's books, because I had these children's books growing up. I still might have them somewhere, and we'll get to like more of that as we go on. But it's like they teach you a lesson about what to do and how to behave, and I think that's something none of these other characters really have. Sure, maybe the Care Bears were like, "Don't do that; it's wrong," but the Berenstain Bears were like, "This is why your mom says not to do something, so don't do it," and you gotta respect that because that's important. Very cool. I'm looking at a picture right now. This one says Meet Big Paw, and it's like a huge bear peering through like the window of their house. Is he like a grandpa? I don't know. I guess it's like brush your teeth or you'll be in trouble. Who's to say? But it's cool. Again, I like it. Not the best. See, the bears in here, they're all kind of cool, but they're also like not iconic. Now here's another one I genuinely think is iconic to a certain generation. This one, again, right up there with Smokey. This is one of my favorite bears. We're talking the bear in the big blue house, baby. Do you remember this bloke? Do you remember this guy, this big puppet boy who just lived in a house and was like, I'm teaching you about shit, man? It's awesome. They recently put this entire show on Disney Plus. I've watched a bunch of it again because it's so cool. I just love him. He's just like, I live here. Everybody's having a good time. We're all chilling. Jim Henson's one of my favorite creators, and his company worked on this. You just love to see it. It's all working great. He's a big, iconic bear. Again, put him in a lineup with all these other bears. You can pick out which one he is. He's got like a really cute, fun face. He's just friendly. He's got a bunch of supporting cats that you just love to see. Look at this nice-looking dude. He's so sweet and charming. He just wants to teach you stuff. He's so nice. Look at him. He's just like a pleasant dude. He's like the only one you'd actively want to hang out with on multiple occasions from anybody on this list. Because he's just a sweetheart. He just likes you and he's being polite. Oh, we stan a king like that. We just stan a gentleman king who loves being a doll. He's adorable. Just adorable. We love him. That leads us to kind of like the first like non-grizzly or black bear on the list. And I was literally thinking like, how many iconic like polar bears are there? How many iconic pandas are there? Not many. So Po from Kung Fu Panda is like the other iconic like bear. Because there's like not many other like panda bears that are iconic, Like panda bears. Let's look it up. Panda bears in pop culture. Poe's like the only one that kind of like has staying factor. There's like memes and stuff of like panda bears and everything, but there's not like much of anything that really like stays together. I guess there's the We Bare Bears bear, but is it really? Like, I don't know. Again, that's such like a thing for a specific time. I don't know if it holds up, but Poe, he's Jack Black. He's in a series of award-winning films that people love. He knows Kung Fu. He's adorable. He's silly. I guess panda bears themselves are just iconic, right? There's that bear that people like. the most because they look like idiots. But Poe, I guess, represents that brand better than anybody? Is that what we'd say? I also didn't find any koalas to put on this list because that feels like something it could be for itself altogether. I also didn't put any Pokemon on the list. Should I have put Pokemon on the list? I don't know if I needed to, but whatever. I'm also like seeing one. I'm looking at a picture of a bunch of like bears now, and I'm seeing one that's like, should I put that guy on the list? Just looking at him, should he have been on the list? The bear there. I don't know. There's like it's a meme. It's from a meme. I can't remember what the meme is, but if I can't remember, it's not on the list. And that, my friends, leads us to one I vaguely remember, which is the Country Bear Jamboree, which is like an iconic thing from Disney World. Or is it Disney? Do you guys remember Country Bear Jamboree? Do you remember it? Do you remember them? They're like big, ugly bears that just sing to you. I don't know if they're iconic. I just kind of wanted to look at them again and talk about it for like a brief minute. Because you remember like the Country Bears movie that Disney made? Where it's like, what if like there was like a band that like broke up and it was like about bears and it was just like fucking weird? Yeah, man. They're not iconic, but I just thought I'd remind you all that the Country Bear Jamboree has been around for a very long time. It's very strange. Why is this like popular? Is it just because like they're iconic? Is it like a brand that Disney wants to like tap into later, but they haven't really? Very strange. I don't get it. Is it kind of racist? I don't know. Because then I was like, do I put Briar Bear on here from like, Splash Mountain and Song of the South? And I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna. But I just talked about him, so I guess I kind of did. But there you go. There's your Country Bear Jamboree talk. You have the fat one, the skinny one, the dumb one, the smart one, and then a girl one maybe? It looks like there's a girl one. That's kind of fun, I guess. We're moving through these last ones pretty quick, so we're jumping into a section I call, hey, that's an iconic bear of, like, product placement, because we have the Charmin Bears who sell you toilet paper. Do you remember these bears? Do you guys know these bears? Is Charmin a brand only in Canada? I don't know, but they're there. There's like a family of bears that like shit a bunch and like they go through toilet paper all the time. Sometimes they're blue, sometimes they're red. Oh, I guess they have like it's different families. There's like the ultra soft family, the ultra strong family. But like it's just a mom, a dad, and their kids, and they shit a bunch, and they just use a specific brand of toilet paper, and they're obsessed with it. And I do think they're iconic. Because they have to be. They just shit all the time. Like, everybody uses toilet paper. And these bears represent toilet paper. So they're iconic in that facility. I mean, you see them, you're like, oh, so it's a shitting time, right? Yeah. So I had to put the Charmin family on there. I also had to put Rudy, the root beer bear. Or is he just the root bear? I think he's Rudy the Root Bear, now that I look at it. So, again, I'm a Canadian boy. I don't know how big A&W restaurants are outside of Canada, but they have a mascot. They don't use him a lot, but it's a big grizzly bear who kind of has like the Winnie the Pooh thing going on. He wears a big shirt. Sometimes he's wearing a hat, like a weird, like an old school, like golfer's hat kind of thing. And he's like carrying a big mug of root beer around, and he just goes to the promotional stuff for A&W, and he's just like a big bear that gives you root beer. Cool. Again, I like him. Maybe it's because I love A&W root beer. Maybe it's because I just enjoy the idea of like companies like this having a mascot that they can exploit. I like that shit a lot. I think it's fun. I just really like this character. I think he's cute. I think he's fun. He's one of my favorites. Because he's just like, hey, you like eating fast food for a reasonable price? You like that? You think it's cool? You think it's fun? You like old school Americana? You like seeing classic bullshit? That's what I am to you. So have some of my root beer. I love it. It's fun. Wait, didn't we just like put pants on him recently? Wasn't that like a huge controversy? I can't remember, but it's like there's Rudy. God forbid like a bear doesn't wear pants when it's like an advertisement, right? I don't know. Is he? I don't think he's as like iconic as like Ronald McDonald's and Friends, but he's iconic in my eyes. Somebody I will think about probably in my final days alive. And that leads us to what I would argue is the most iconic bears in popular culture, and that is the three bears from Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Mom, Pa, and Junior Bear. You know, this porridge is too hot, this porridge is too cold, this porridge is just right. Does it all stem from these people, like these three bears? Being like icons of history, like, you know, fables were some of like the first things ever told, and Goldilocks is one of the ones where it's like, don't break into a house, don't do this, don't do that. I feel like they are iconic. And there's a bunch of different interpretations. Again, comic book interpretations, television interpretations. We just recently saw them in a Puss in Boots movie for being iconic, so that's kind of a cool thing to see, kind of a fun thing to explore. Love it a lot, love it a lot. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Yes, Goldilocks is the star, but you know the Three Bears. You know that story pretty well. Icons all together, icons all around. It stems from them. They just sleep in the woods and they have beds and shit. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, you know? Pretty fun. Pretty fun. But I wonder though if it's one of those things like, do kids today know a lot of like the Grimm's like fairy tales and like those old school kind of stories? Do they think about that stuff? There's no like iconic Disney one, so maybe like their first big exposure is the Puss in Boots: The Last Wish movie. I wonder, because I don't really know how like a younger generation feels about the Three Bears. Because where would they have gotten it from? Interesting. I know who theirs is. We'll get into like the bear of the generation in a moment. But before that, we have to talk a little bit about a video game bear before we get to the other video game bear. Have to bring up Banjo-Kazooie, and it's just Banjo because Kazooie's the bird, but I just wanted to remind people, like, this was the iconic, like, bear of gaming for a while, and I forgot he's a bear. But he's a bear, I looked it up. You know, you guys like Banjo and Kazooie? Like, that dynamic, is it fun? Personally have no like true connection to it because I didn't really like grow up on Banjo, but look, you play games as this cool bear and his bird friend. It's kind of exciting. You kind of love it. It's very interesting. I do appreciate it. He looks very iconic and cool. It's like very fun and compelling stuff. Just good content, man. What a fun. Like I don't play enough games. I think his game's been remastered, right? Like there's been a remaster of it. Just adorable. Just adorable. Look at him. Look at him. He's like a bear. He wears pants. A lot of like he's got smoky vibes in that aspect. Big broad shoulders. Very cool. Supports his buddy. That's exciting. Now, I would say he's the most iconic bear in gaming if it wasn't for Freddy Fazbear. That's right. Five Nights at Freddy's cannot escape this episode of the GeekWave either. We're going to be talking about it because they have an animatronic grizzly bear thing who has become, I think, the iconic pop culture bear for an entire generation. And yes, that is just a play on, like, you know, the Country Bear Jamboree. But it makes sense. It works. Like, it is a popular character that people like and respect. They connect to it. They know what it is. So it works. It happens. People like a good bear. What can I say? What can I say? People connect to a bear. They like bears. And they like animatronics and horror. So yeah, Freddy Fazbear, he had to be on the list because he does fit into this category well. Now, I have two more I do want to talk about. Two characters that are based on real life bears. Bears that have existed in the real world who represent the good of humanity for some aspects. So the first bear of pop culture we're going to be talking about, Bart the Bear. Now, Bart the Bear is this iconic actor. He is an actor who has starred in a bunch of movies from I think he was like a young man when he first started. He lived to be 23 years old. And he started a numerous amount of movies from kind of like the 80s, 90s, and he died in like 2000. But his son, Bart the Bear, too, also had like a good couple year run where he was an actor. So we have Bart the Bear, the lineage of bears doing stuff like that. It's very cool to see. A good bear like that getting an opportunity to shine in a film, that's exciting. Bart, you will be missed. Very cool. And we're going to be ending on what I say you just make us the sequel to Cocaine Bear or the prequel to Cocaine Bear, which is Wojciech. I don't know if that's how you'd say that name, but Wojciech is this World War II private who worked with the Polish Corps and was a bear that fought the Nazis. Yeah, how is that not a movie? Are you kidding me? The Polish army had a bear on their side, and he fought people? And we were just supposed to accept that? Come on, that's badass. That's badass AF. I love that. We had to end on Wojciech because that's cool. Bear killing people, especially Nazis. What's not to like? What's not to like? It's awesome. It's awesome. We love it. We respect it. We love it. We appreciate it so much. And those are all the bears of pop culture. Again, it's not every single bear in pop culture, but those are the ones that stand out the most, that mean something the most, that have a way of life the most. Got to appreciate a good bear when you see it, don't you? So, that's it. Who is your favorite bear of pop culture? I will give you my top 3 just depending on the list. I would say my top 3 go Smokey Bear, Fozzie, and Bear in the Big Blue House. I also really like Rudy the Root Bear, and I kind of think Freddy Fazbear has become an icon in his own right. But I don't know, who's your favorite bear of pop culture? And if you have any other animals you want to see me talk about on the GeekWave like this, let me know. I like this idea so much, actually, talking about animals in pop culture like this. I might want to do a separate spin-off podcast talking about it. But we'll see. We shall see. Until then, this has been the newest episode of the GeekWave. Now, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you are listening to this on the podcast feed, please give us a rating over there. Helps out the channel a lot. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Hive. And I will catch you all in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Oh, bother. Waka waka. Only you can prevent forest fires. Hey, boo-boo, let's steal a picnic basket. Wipe your ass with Charmin. Good luck, everybody.